Greetings, family. One love. Greetings, Elitom. Welcome, welcome,
Oh,
everyone.
welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Elitom.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. This is good. Once again, we got a lot of catching up to do, and there's a lot going on.
Yes, indeed. And I have a lot of questions as I develop in this path, and so I really appreciate you taking the time. And hopefully, this will be of benefit to all. I'm sure it will. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
So just to, frame the conversation for people in my community, if you don't know Ellie Tom, I think you do by now, but Ellie Tom is a breatharian, a nomad, an author, a teacher, and he just goes around spreading joy and sparkles and songs and benefit everywhere he goes. I love this man. He's my teacher. He's my friend, and so grateful to have you with us. As I said before, I wanted to
All
talk a
right.
little bit today to kind of frame the conversation. And this can go all over. We'll just have a free form conversation, but just breatharianism as it kind of applies to enlightenment and longevity. You know,
All right.
so um, but you know, I've as usual, I have more questions than we'll have time for. Uh,
Well, you
but
know me, once I get started, it's like sometimes people say, I got a lot of questions, but as soon as I start talking, they say, man, you just answered five or six of them.
right, right, yeah,
Hmm.
that's what I'm used to. But maybe you could start with just sharing a little bit of your journey and how you came into this lifestyle and what your inspirations were. You know, um, I know
Oh,
for me,
absolutely.
yeah, I'll let you go. Let her rip.
Well, one thing I try to do is when I teach is to bring it down to earth so it can make it user friendly for everybody. Because I know there's times, as we was growing up reading different spiritual books, we think spirituality has to be something so far out there that you really can't grasp it, so you cannot see yourself. So I had to make it a dedication to actually make some steps and make it down to earth so a person could utilize it. Now, for number one, this is I always tell people this is a health message because the physical and the energy is the same. E equals MC squared, just like the energy and the physical is the same. So I try to bring people on that level instead of so a person won't be caught in duality. The physical is over here, but the spiritual is over here. We already saw how that works. So anyway, when a person is on this journey and we say meditation is the foundation, really teaching people how to work with the subtle energies that you cannot see, taste, or smell. And you'll start seeing these improvements taking place and working with these energies. That's the first part. But the next part is learning how to maintain that frequency. That's why this is a lifestyle. Now, when we bring up that term lifestyle, let's get into habits for number one. Uh, Trying to remove habits. And that's just mean something that we're doing repeatedly over a period of time. So dealing with a habit that's draining energy from you, we're going to be real with it. It's like trying to remove a giant oak tree by its roots by yourself. It's hard. And when you're building a new habit, because learning how to meditate and cultivate your energy every single day is easier said than done. So, but when you're cultivating a new habit, that's what it is. That's why we use the word energy cultivation. It's like you're raising a nice, beautiful plant, taking care of it every day so it can grow and won't be destroyed. So you're working on both of those levels. So that's the root of it right there, our habits. And on this solar breatharian journey, we're even saying eating is an acquired habit, but you have to grow there gradually and slowly. And there's a lot more to it. It's just like some people ask me, what do I got to do to become a breatharian? And you just can't answer it in a few sentences. Because I also say that this journey is the physical body is dealing with the laws of physics. Now, anybody know if they go to school right now to learn physics, it is not no cakewalk. You got to study, study, and study. Or you can fail the course. It's just as simple as that. So if your body's working with the laws of physics, this is why a student on this path, you really got to start working with the your electromagnetic field, understand what it really is, the thermal energy that's in you, what it really is. And I could go on how your different systems are harmonizing themselves with each other, what the homeostasis, and it's based on your everyday actions. And you're also dealing with gravity. Now, I know gravity is not a force, that's besides the point. But when we use that word gravity, you are dealing with your body's being attracted to the earth. And it's just a product of the curvature of space, and your body is in it. So I could go really far with this, but I usually have to walk a student up from one level to another. And even now, I've been on this journey for 20 plus years, and I'm here in Africa at the equator. Just being at the equator is a different energy when I was in the northern hemisphere. I feel it on my body right now. It's amazing, but it's a great study.
That that ties into one of the questions I had, you know, because as you know, I've been on the journey, I first came across the idea of breatharianism about 12 years ago or 13 years ago, and I was starting to practice the habits of sun gazing and meditation and raw food and fasting and all these kinds of things. And I've been liquidarian now for 6 years and dry fasting for 23 hours a day for 2 years. But I'm still have like, that's some of the questions I have for you is like, I think part of it is where I live. It's cold as heck in the winter and hot in the summer as heck. And I know you can do this anywhere. And that's really a lot of it has to do with your mind. But the other thing that has become apparent to me through this path, that it is enlightenment, that you're bringing more light into your body and that the light improves the consciousness, the chi becomes refined, and you get, you kind of step into your greater authenticity because you can't have these energies going out where it's not needed, or you have to manage your energy in relationships and stuff. And I see the way there's a lot of renunciation, and you gain something from it. Like I feel like a big reason why I continue to drink liquids is just to sit and have something with my family,
Right.
And dealing with all those levels of physical and emotional and energetic, is like this, uh, very subtle dance that you have to like, refine your awareness around where you're bleeding out energy and what things are doing good things for you and what is not. And I just feel like I'm drinking stuff and I don't really need it anymore, and I can't figure out why I'm not releasing it other than like these attachments,
Well, every
So,
habit we have, oh, sorry.
no, you're good.
Every habit that we have, whether we call it negative or positive, there's a reward behind it.
Hmm.
There's a reward behind it. So that's why it ain't about beating up on yourself. You just can find out what the reward is and be comfortable with it. See, even and it ain't so much the action, it's the wanting and the feeling it gives you leading up to the action.
Hmm.
Let's say a person is smoking a cigarette. They'll probably feel awful after it's all over. But the whole goal was that first initial contact with the cigarette. And it made them feel good at that moment. So that was the whole thing. And you get more dopamine release just wanting to do something compared to the action itself.
Hmm.
So we're dealing with a whole lot more of just a thought trying to override everything. We're releasing hormones, pleasures, all of this. And even when I talk about meditation, I know some meditate more than others. Even that gives off dopamine. However, you have to work up to it because there is some things we are hardwired to go to pleasures that are easier to get than ones that will be better for you over long term. If that make any sense.
Hmm. Yeah, it
That's how
totally
we
does.
hardwire.
That's why people, continue negative habits, because it's just easier. The neurons that fire together wire together. Negative,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, negative, positive is kind of loaded as a judgment, but
Mm-hmm.
there's kind of like skillful and unskillful, like the ends that can be achieved through, like, if you go to the gym and you work out, like, you're going to have better health, better strength, better mood, all these things, but that's hard to do you
Right.
know
Especially you ain't gonna see the results probably till months down the line, years down the line. Compared to you could be at home sitting on the couch watching a Netflix series. That's easier to do.
hmm
Let's
yeah,
be real with it. And in your mind, or how your body's concerned, being on the couch watching Netflix series with the popcorn in your hand, you're conserving energy. You're
right.
conserving energy. So, in other words, that's why on one level, we're the ones to say if it's negative energy or positive energy, but on the higher levels, it's just energy. Any way it goes, in your mind, you're getting a reward for it.
hmm
Some is
Oh,
just more quicker than others.
right. And it's interesting just the way, what you're speaking to reminds me of this book I read recently called Atomic Habits. And it's
Right,
all about little habits that you do consistently and falling in love with the process instead of the goal.
exactly. Uh,
You know.
that book says it all. For the simple fact, people will come on this journey, I want to be a breatharian, and 9 times out of 10, you already lost.
hmm
Because what system are you going to use to get there? And people don't focus on the system. And plus, we've been born into, because this is how our brains is hardwired, instant gratification, and a person does not have patience. And we might as well be real with it. The greatest things that are built from humanity takes a longer time to build than something that's simple. I hope this
hmm
makes sense. Like,
Oh
for
yeah.
instance, America got jets that can do Mach 7 and above, 7 times faster than the speed of sound. That didn't happen overnight. It was a
hmm
progression of evolution for that technology to stack on top of each other. But at the same time, it's something we never saw before, and it's very, very powerful. So it's the same thing compared to if you're doing a model airplane. Okay. So when you're on this journey, yeah, this is big ball. This is going to take a while. It's going to take decades to grow. And you're dealing with the laws of physics and you're learning more and more and more. I'm learning more now than I did when I first began.
hmm hmm
This is how deep it is.
It starts to snowball, and I feel that too. That um, things that seemed hard to me to even conceive of, 10 years ago, it now
Mhm.
comes more readily. You know.
More readily. And
And,
then there's some things because your mind is like a muscle, so it grows. So there was some concepts you couldn't see before till now.
hmm
That's why you
hmm
got to work with this knowledge. And knowledge goes in, how should I say, levels and degrees. All knowledge is given on the surface. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up at. They'll hear a concept and they think they got it right there. And there's more layers under it.
hmm
There's more layers under it. And
And
people just get caught at the surface.
that brings to mind some of these thoughts, I have around, because I'm a Buddhist. I hate to call myself anything, but I really, I really like Buddhism, Taoism, and Rastafarianism, because it's like a naturalistic philosophy, you know.
Right.
Um, and they talk about the same thing with habits, on the level of like lifetime to lifetime. That the accumulation of your habits is what, your karmas are, and the good
Mm-hmm.
experiences and bad experiences are all just karma ripening. And the way we cling to, like, say for instance, clinging to the final stage of breatharianism, where you don't need any food, you don't need any water, you're just living on light, you know
Mm-hmm.
where uh that fixation can become, I've noticed in my own path, it can be like a stopgap, or like a, you know, the ultimate goal is going to be well-being and freedom, and, you know, benefit for myself and other beings. But
Mm-hmm.
um, in the meanwhile, if I'm attached to that end product, it actually like slows my progress, you know,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
makes more of like a, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like a static barrier, like a force field between you and the objective, your goal, you know. Um,
Oh, absolutely. However, like we were saying too, everything you're doing, you got the opportunity to learn from it for the next time. So,
mhm,
because keep in mind, even though you're releasing resistance in the body, which we call blockages, some resistance also is good for the body, depending on what you're trying to experience. Why you want to be so on this level where everything around you is on another level, it doesn't work like that either. So that's why I try to be people so they won't go into spiritual psychosis. That's when you start thinking too delusional for what you're trying to accomplish in the moment. You're
mhm,
not there yet. So you want to get this body and work on it till it develops to that thing, just like bodybuilding. You know, you
mhm.
start bodybuilding, we don't expect you to compete in a bodybuilding competition within a month or a year even. Put some
Right.
time in, put some work in, right, to develop, to grow. And this is what we're talking, to bring it more down to earth, to get that instant gratification mind out of the way.
And, you know, I really have fallen in love with the process. It's been like
Oh,
such
yeah.
an amazing joy. And, you know, another thought of like the attachments, you know, it goes into what you were saying earlier about the breatharian process of releasing food, and how we, makes me think of Hilton Hotima. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, over generations, we acclimatized from being breath in a breatharian state in the distant past to starting to eat things, and then just being accustomed to it generation after generation. It was just, you know, like they've done these experiments on mice where they would do like an electroshock when they smelled uh, roses, I think. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, and they found out that like 2 or 3 generations later, and the children are even, and this was just like with the male rat or mice, two or three
Right.
generations later, the mice, when they would smell that, they would still freak out. That
Oh,
they
yeah,
would be
without a
shocked
doubt.
because of this like habituation, you know.
Mm-hmm. And this is
And
what we're dealing with, right?
yeah, and
We just call it neuroplasticity, give other names for it. Yes, you are carrying genes from your parents, your grandparents, that has the potential to guide you into certain habits. Right now, you ain't had nothing to do with. I mean, we're bringing it just this down to earth. But once you start seeing what to work on next, the less attention you pay to it, it start weakening itself up, because these energy channels that we have in us is very, very strong. Whether if it's negative or positive, like we said, they very, very strong. Now, notice on my journey, I renamed it as the solar breatharian journey,
hmm,
because we're talking about these energies, we're talking about light, but we might as well be real with it. You're talking about the solar energy. It could be measured, it affects everybody and everything. I hope this makes it. There's a lot of people still in denial for that, because we was taught spirituality was something else. For the lights
right.
to come on into your house, for when we light a piece of wood, all you did was release the stored chemical energy from the sun.
Mhm. Yep.
So that's why we named it that, so you can learn more about it and your relationship to it. And I just put a post on social media telling, showing people what happens when a full moon takes place, you know, and when the high tides come up. But that's actually a solar event.
Hmm.
And when you start paying attention to those events, you can align your body up at those times. This is where you start learning set times and cycles, because there's energies outside of us that is influencing our bodies and our ways. Now, I know in spirituality, we say everything is inside. That's just part of the story. Remember, I said it goes deeper and deeper? No, just like Taoism, you're the microcosm of the bigger picture. So you're all one, but to get there, you also got to not only study what's going on inside you, your organs, how the cells is moving, but also how these bigger forces that is influencing us and how they're moving. And we're affecting things. It's just that real. It goes deeper and deeper.
Well, it's that whole alchemical adage of as within, so without, you know.
Oh yeah.
And that,
What?
you know, what is external to you is actually what's in your internals, but there is no,
You're
you know,
all one with it.
that's also this
We,
Buddhist idea of codependent origination, that everything, you know, is interdependent. You know, all of the energies are influencing each other and supporting each other. And
exactly. So
I
that's
love
why
that.
this study is
Go,
very important. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
That's why this study is very important, because I know sometimes a person to say, well, what do I just got to do? And they just want to get it over with because we've been trapped in a belief. It's easier to just to believe compared to really exercising your mind so you can see it. But anyway, it's sort of like that word higher education. The main goal of higher education ain't so much what you're taking up. The whole goal of higher education is where they do those where you got to get your report paper in. Because
Right.
in order to do that, you got to put a lot of time and energy getting the right resources, your references, what you're studying, putting it together in your own words. That's the main thing of higher education. And what's happening is you'll see a lot of people come into this knowledge who never trained their mind to do that, because we do live in an age of information, but we got so much information contradicting itself that a lot of people get stuck in it because they never learned how to properly sift through it to get that good term paper in other words, in your own words. So you'll hear people, as soon as I hear them gurgitating something that's going against science, and I know what video they got it from, but they never gave their own mind no thought to it. And this is
Yeah,
what age we're in. It just comes with the territory.
it seems that to me that there's so much information now that people are having trouble processing it, and it's very like shallow. You know, there's not the depth of knowledge and study that has been there in the past, in terms of like you're saying, just really get into it, immerse yourself completely in the
Oh
thought,
yeah.
you know, and really
And it
dig
shouldn't
into it.
contradict itself.
And then you're confused because of these contradictions in your mind, you know, and
Oh, absolutely.
and
But
then the
we'll get
focus.
there. At least it's out there. So that's step number one. But
Yeah.
again, it's going to take some work. And like I said, when I teach, I at least try to make it to the level that, all right, now this is how we use it. This is what results should come out. So we won't be talking mythical all over the place again. We could do that all day long.
Yeah.
But what we want to do, we really want to transform this physical matter. We want to transform it. It has the energy, the vehicle is here, but you got to work with it. It's just as simple as that.
Well, you know, that's why I, you know, wanted to speak about enlightenment a little bit, because, you know, as you were saying with the solar breatharian journey, but it's not just solar. That's the main, you know, energy. But there's, you know, energy coming up from the earth. Even your breathing creates electricity in your body. You know, movement creates electricity in your body. There's,
But all that
and,
again, what you just said, this is why I brought up solar. The only reason it's doing that is because of the sun.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I hope this makes sense. The primary energy source of the earth is the sun.
mm-hmm,
You're in the solar system, the sun system. It's our local star, in other words.
mm-hmm.
Oh man, our atmosphere we in, like we just brought up breath. The electromagnetic spectrum is from the sun. A radio wave, when we talk about light, a radio wave when you listen to music is light.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm
Yeah.
getting at? We got to bring it down to earth, because even when we bring up enlightenment and light, people's mind is still stuck and they don't understand what's being said. That's why we got to bring it down. We got our electronics today, our science and technology, offer the same concepts of spirituality. We're just using it externally.
Right. And just like my point was that light comes in many forms. There's scalar waves, there's, you know, T waves, there's, you know, and it is all electromagnetic radiation coming from space and stars and our star
And
and
mostly from the sun.
all of us. We have a, I think we have a sun in the center of our chest. Our heart, is a singularity. There's a grand unified field theory that's under peer review right now that talks about how everything, uh, you know, um, comes back to the singularity. Like there's a singularity in the center of the sun, in the center of the galaxy, in the center of your cells, in the center of your body, and that this is like an
Oh, well,
eminence.
okay, but I think that's still all right. I know exactly what you're saying, but I
Mhm.
remember like I told you about, like teaching. I was at some place and some woman, I guess she wanted to talk spiritually, and she said something like, "We're evolving to where you're going to see it in this lifetime, and our hearts is moving from the left and they're going back to the center." Now I can't teach like that. That don't make no sense, and it's not necessary. Because our heart is on the left side of the body, but I think we could break it down a little bit more because, like, I just did a teaching going step by step on what's taking place when you meditate, because as your blood goes through the left ventricle, as each minute goes by, it's able to push more and more blood through. So that's why you start feeling that feeling of having more heightened energy. I hope this is making sense, so it can make more sense. Because if we jump straight to enlightenment and people still got that other mind in them, this is why they're not making that leap or these improvements of being a breatharian.
Mhm.
I think that's holding them back.
Yeah, I mean to like frame it in the sense of, from my experience, it would just started with lightening up, you know, like lightening up
There it
my
is.
diet, lightening up my consciousness, you know,
Right,
the meditation, and clearing the energy channels so the light can move through,
right.
collecting the light of the sun by getting out in it, by sun gazing, you know, um, touching the earth, all of these things, that whole thing of like bringing
So
it
you're
down to the
saying
real.
light by weight, and light by brightness.
Right.
Now I could go for that. That's enlightenment.
Yeah. And that the electricity that we're able to conduct as we're developing ourselves as breatharians, like you always mention, it's more about energy cultivation,
Mm-hmm.
meditation. It's not about not eating. That can help because it lessens the drag on your system, to break down all this food and eliminate it. You know, but you have to, just like, Hotima's example of, like, say there's someone who's addicted to opiates. If you take them
Mm-hmm.
off it right away, they'll die. They'll physically die. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
and that we have
Yep.
to taper this light. This electricity is powerful. Every cell creates point 0.7, or every uh, what is it? Every cell creates point 0.7 volts, and you have like 50 trillion of them. So that's like, you
Oh
know,
yeah, without a doubt. See, and I like how you come in with that level. That's what people need to hear. Because going back what you said about the opiates, yeah, people all know if you stop eating, you're going to die. It's a proven track record on humanity. Starvation exists. So that's why you need to grow a bigger energy field, a substitute of the subtle forces to take the place of the denser foods. So when you come that route, then it makes it more tangible what you got to work with. Because keep in mind, people did hurt themselves by saying, if I only could believe strong enough, this was going to happen because God loves me.
mhm,
But you got
mhm.
something to work with to transform ourselves. We do it on everything else. Look at the houses we live in. This ain't always been here in humanity.
Mhm.
Everything we created. Oh
Right.
man.
Right. And, there is that level, of belief, where consciousness can create reality, but that word belief has that word, lie in it. It's a little
Oh,
lie.
absolutely.
You're telling yourself a little lie, and you practice saying it enough that you actually start to uh, find ways that you make that true, and then you start to live the truth of it, and you live
Well,
the
like
truth
we
of it.
say, if we want to look at it like that, I usually tell people truth comes in three forms. You got your personal truth, you got a political truth, and then you got the objective truth. Now, the objective truth, that's the one that the universe is dealing with. It don't care about your personal truth or your political one. That's just an illusion a person is in when they think I'm living my own truth. And you are, but that don't mean it's what objective truth. So the objective truth is if you go to a 10-story building in New York, here in Uganda, China, France, and there was a person ready to jump off the roof at each of those places, we all know that they're going to be they're going to go hit the ground. Nobody wouldn't even argue about that. Well, if their belief is strong enough, nobody will say that. Don't jump off the roof.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
But your personal truth is a person is saying, I eat this because this is healthy for you. Somebody else will say, well, I eat this because this is healthy for you. That's bad for you. That's personal and political truths. And the universe don't care nothing about that. So when we deal with the solar breatharian knowledge, we are after objective truths. Oh man, I hope this makes sense. In other words, you already got an energy field, all physical matter does. So now you have to make it grow. But it's not going to grow like you want it to by being procrastinating, lazy, putting things off, not understanding the curriculum, taking it for granted. None of that is going to help. Just like somebody's going to run a marathon.
Yeah, it's interesting, this whole thing too, like we were talking about before, to me, just watching, in myself, but I think it's a larger sort of social, meme or something of valuing the product rather than the process, and that, like if you think about it, maybe for me, like an example would be like going to go see a musician play in another state when I'm a teenager, and I'm going with my friends. At least 70 or 80% of the fun that we're going to have is going to be on the journey there.
Oh, absolutely.
And that we can miss out on the fun of this journey if we're too focused on the end product.
Oh yeah. And then check this out, and I'm glad you brought that up. And this is why that when you talk about atomic habits, don't focus on the goal, but focus on the system that you're using to get there. Because even when you reach your goal, all goals are temporary. Because what's next? Okay, you won the Super Bowl. What's next? That's just going to be a good victory. Then all of a sudden, game 2 again. So that's why people got to understand that this is a process like that. This is a full lifestyle of never-ending growth. Energy will stop when you allow it to stop.
And there'll be peaks and there'll be valleys. But if you fall in love, if you're like a pro baller and you just love playing football, then like I love that Wayne Dyer talks about, playing tennis and how much he just loved to play tennis. And he never had the, aspiration to be an amazing tennis player. But because he loved it and he played it so much, he got really good at it.
Absolutely.
And that the fun is in the journey, is the big journey that I've been working with over the last couple of years of like, because I do want to be at that end goal, because I see it as an ultimate freedom.
Well, there is many people who did hit the breatharian journey that couldn't maintain it. So this is the point I'm trying to make.
Yes.
It isn't like, and how would you know? It ain't like fireworks is going to go off that day and there's going to be an airplane with your name on it. It's just that real. When do you know? So that's why don't even look at it like that. The goal of freedom and stuff, that already exists.
Right.
Living your life day by day. So what makes a master is that they got timing, and for number one, it's not a fly by night. And they was able to go through the different things of life, because life ain't gonna stop for nobody. You're going to constantly learn how to work with these energies better and better. And as long as you're here, these energies are going to be flying and working. So dealing with peace, and that's something you create. You made it happen, but you got more whys to make it maintain itself like that. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it totally makes sense for me. I mean, I had been developing these habits over years and years, and you know, with highs and lows. But then, last couple years ago, my middle son got really negatively affected with health conditions. He had
Mm,
and watching him go through that suffering and going and being there with him through it all was the hardest thing I've ever experienced. And
right,
a lot of people at that point would probably break their habit. If you hadn't developed it, it'd be easy for myself or anyone to break those habits and those things. But since I'd been developing them, they actually
right,
supported me through that difficulty. They
right.
actually helped me be stronger, and help him at a higher level because
And I'm glad you said that. It's just that real. So even when you make a breatharian, become a breatharian, people got to realize that people that you love around you in everyday life, that still could take place. Are you going to maintain the journey then?
Mhm.
You see where I'm getting at? Because
Yeah,
sometimes people eat off of emotions. Well, most things people do is because of emotions to cover up that pain or whatever. I'm just bringing it out there, but that's the reality of it.
very true.
It's
Very
not going
true.
to stop.
It's so true, and that's where I'm like just kind of scratching my head at myself because I just every time I sit down to have drinks because I just have gotten in this habit from practice because that's been the thing. My journey is if I can develop something consistently for like 90 days, I notice
Mhm.
that I can do it forever. You know,
Right.
so I developed to doing 23 hours a day dry fasted and an hour of liquids, but
Hmm.
like at least half the time I sit down, to have my juice dinner, and I'm like, I don't even really need it. I'm just
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just in a rhythm, and that was something that you told me that was very helpful in this journey that I'd like to share with the community of like, we're beings of pleasure and we're
Hmm.
beings of habit, and if you can make it pleasurable and you can make it a habit, you can do it and a
Oh, yeah.
rhythm and a rhythm,
Yep.
the other thing you said. And those things totally like help me
Oh,
level up big time, you know.
oh, absolutely. Creatures of pleasures and habits. Absolutely. And if we could do it routinely, you'll stay on the journey. That's why people usually ask me, okay, Elitom, which meditation do you do? And I say, for what? What you want to know that for? Because I know what they're saying. They want to do it. But my question is, what meditation do you want to do? Where are you at? What I'm
Yeah.
doing, you might can't handle it or don't like it. You understand? But if you got something you like to do, because all meditations work with energy, if you like that one, stick with the one that you like because you'll stick with it a lot further.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it because this mind is for pleasures and habits. It's going to
It's got
talk. Right now, this is New Year's.
mhm.
If people ain't quit their New Year's resolution already, they will be here soon. I'm not putting that on them, but the track record is more people's going to give up on what they say they're going to do this year than the ones that actually succeed. That's
Mhm.
just the way it is. But again, don't focus on the goal. The person who makes it had a good system in place and they maintained it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because it's the system that's going to get you the results. Now, dealing with that word system is sort of like a stereo system. If the stereo is playing music and then all of a sudden start messing up, that don't mean you throw out the whole stereo. You troubleshoot to see where the problem is coming from.
Mhm.
Because it got different systems connected to each other. You got the amplifier, you got the speakers, you got the receiver, and all this other stuff. So you're going through to see where the problem actually is at. So it's the same with our lives. It's the same with our body. It could be one little thing that's taking place, and once you straighten it out, you'd be surprised how the whole system start conducting itself. Now the thing about it, you're going to be troubleshooting for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
I was in the Navy, I was in communications. The system could be running good. We got everything going good. Then all of a sudden, just by us traveling, just by the hemisphere, where we at in the ocean, a system start messing up. It is up to us to find out where the problem is at, straighten it out to get back on track. That's life.
Mhm. I feel that. I totally feel that so much. Just having to, you know, readjust constantly. You know,
Hmm.
and another thing I value about this lifestyle is just that adaptability, like practicing adaptability. You know,
Right,
um,
right. And see, just and what we're saying too about, because this is a life journey, a life message. A person's life is the only thing they got going for them. That's why when
y-
you meet a person, what are they going to talk about? Themselves, me, my, moo. This is what I do. I mean, we all do it. That's the only thing we really got going for us. But
mhm,
dealing with this troubleshooting with our lives, and all of this, your main job is to keep the system flowing. However, when we deal with blockages, you got to identify what the blockage is. And that's what we mean by some people can have blockages and don't know they're blockages. And those are different belief systems. Because keep in mind, a person's habit is, whether it's negative or positive, that's their belief. But that
mhm.
don't mean it's an objective truth. I hope this
Yeah,
makes sense. But the
it does,
universe
and it
don't care
even
about the objective
even
truth.
even with respect to just belief versus experience, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which experience isn't necessarily objective either, but you may
Right.
have a belief and your experience is telling you something else, and that's another thing I
Mm-hmm.
really value about this lifestyle is there's a meaningfulness in it, you know,
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
I feel eating less more fulfilled, you know,
Yeah.
um, because of and it's not the eating part, it's the other practices, but that definitely for me along the journey, um, the practice of a diet and herbs, and then the practice of fasting, I see that to be one of the arms of development in this path, you know.
Oh, without a doubt. Because let's go back to that word gravity. Okay, I'm going to use that word force, even though Einstein broke that, dealing with it's just a product of the curvature of space. But anyway, as you're being pulled down to the earth and we being bipedal creatures, just by you sitting up with your spine straight, you can actually feel the heavier objects for whatever you ate going downwards. You can feel where the stress is at on the body, the tension. This is why meditation is the foundation, because the average person don't take a time out to feel those gravitational forces on the body and where things is happening at.
Hmm.
And the whole key is, and when they do feel it, what do? They move and stretch into it. But that does not get rid of it. You got to let the body, by its natural state of homeostasis, balance itself out to get rid of it on its own, because we put it there through our habits. But
Hmm.
anyway, that force also is why our blood is flowing around the body, the liquids, the fluids. It makes the organs stronger. And last but not least, by you using your body structure, because that energy is coming on your body structure, your bones start getting stronger.
Yeah,
You
well,
get stronger bones through meditation.
and your bones are pyroelectric, piezoelectric, uh, conductor, semiconductor, and superconductor, as is
Absolutely.
a lot of your tissue. And that
Absolutely.
pressure actually pushing on you creates electricity.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm glad you say you love this journey. You gotta love it. Once you start understanding these sciences, the more you age, this is what we mean by putting the work in. That energy is going to grow and get stronger in the body
Hmm.
because you put a lot more time and energy in. Yeah. Qigong ain't easy at first, holding up these shoulders be hurting, all of this, but over a period of time, and then you're doing it month after month, year after year, decade after decade. This is a strong vessel. It's an antenna. So that's why, yeah, being on this journey, oh my gosh. Like I said, just for me being here at the equator right now, because I don't know if people know how the energy works on a planet, the gravitational forces are different in different places. So being here at the equator, I'm actually, even though I got the same body mass, I actually weigh less if I was further up north.
Right.
Because I'm
And
further
you
from
get
the Earth's
more
center.
and you get more of that direct solar energy, you
Oh
know.
man,
Yeah.
It's off the hook. Yep.
Yeah. I'm pining for it. My ancestry is Panamanian on my mom's side, and
Yeah.
I'm like, in the last year or two, I'm just dying to move to the tropics. But that's one of my
well,
goals.
well, this is the good side. You're up in the northern hemisphere, and we already went past the winter solstice. So every day that goes past, the days are getting longer.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
means that every day, being in the northern hemisphere, even though it's colder, you can be assured that every day is getting more and more radiated as the Earth is making its rotations.
It's
So that's
funny
the
because
good part.
through this practice and through being a gardener, I feel that. I feel that in the summer, as soon as it turns summer solstice, I'm like, oh, it's falling, the energy's dropping. And
Yeah.
I noticed that this last summer I was able to dry fast 2 days a week, every week, and it was easy. And as soon as I hit that, I couldn't do it anymore, you
Right.
know. And then, and then we just
I'm
had to
glad you
start.
caught that. Yep. When June 21st, when the summer comes, longest
Yep,
day, but every day after that is going to get shorter.
yep.
And our bodies is in this cycle. So that's why you want to at least, I put a post on social media. If you meditate every day this year, 365, you would have meditated 365 times in a year. You would have been in that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's another form of nourishment. So even when people talk to me, I bring it so down to earth. So you don't eat food? Of course I eat food. Now listen at this. I eat other energies that you're not used to. I had to walk them into it. You are
That
lining your
reminds
body
me.
up to get these.
That
Because
reminds
food
me
is
of
just
this
energy. That's why
post.
people eat.
That reminds me of this post I saw on Instagram. There's a few. This is like starting to get more and more scientific research around it. There's this whole
Yeah.
field of quantum biology. And there's this one quantum biologist. She's, a trained medical professional, but she says here, electrons. Oh wait, electrons are your life force as they travel around your body, making an electromagnetic field. Electrons need to be charged by light in the photoelectric effect. As hydrogen and electrons are so small that they can. Wait, hydrogen and electrons are so small they can act as antioxidants everywhere in the body and penetrate deep into cells. The
Mm-hmm.
hydration shells are all surfaces in the body means big, so-called antioxidants like vitamin E and other antioxidant supplements are too big to penetrate into the body and the cells. That's one reason why they don't really work. To explain redox in simple terms of electrons and hydrogen, reduction, antioxidant, is the opposite of oxidation, no oxidation. Another approach is to describe oxidation as losing hydrogen, and reduction is gaining of hydrogen. And the more electrons you have, the more antioxidant power you have. Your
Uh-huh.
gut microbiome makes hydrogen, so the better that is, the more antioxidant power you have. And then, melanin can split water and produce electrons, hydrogen, and
Right.
oxygen. So the more melanin
Exactly.
you
And
have,
vice versa.
yeah, the more power you have. And you can gather electrons and avoid electron stealers yourself and make melanin via UVA light or cold thermogenesis yourself. So,
Thank you so much for reading that. See, this is what we're talking about. We're in the age of frequency medicine, and information like that is coming out more and more. I've been over this journey over 2 decades, and there was a time that wasn't out. But each year I've been on it. More and more information is coming out there. There's so much out there. So what a person needs to do is, see, even though you read that, a lay person will look at it, it don't all make sense. But if you study it and then keep studying it, it start making sense more and more. And you start putting it with other resources. And as you're working with yourself with these practices, you're literally working with those forces. That's what they're talking about. So you can transform yourself. Other than that, you won't believe it or you won't know it. You're in and out. You're just gurgitating with somebody what you heard. We got to go beyond that. This is serious deep study. You are building the greatest thing on this planet, which is yourself.
here. Yes, yes. This is the highest tech that there is, and the meditation is reading the instructions, and doing the qigong, getting instructed by the light, and
Absolutely.
it's informing you. Information is something that's in formation, like a form, you know.
Right.
So I think you mentioned this to me when we were hiking in the forest, like all of the plants, because of my, focus on plants, you're
Mhm.
like, this is all crystallized fire, you know,
Right.
and that's what
Well,
we are.
that's what we are. And they're
Yeah.
telling us it's in our face, but even if you're told, it's just a technology, you have to start working with it so you can develop and grow, like we said. Because, like, how should we say about gravity again? Let's take Ohm's law. I think I threw this out there one time. Now, Ohm's law is in physics, and all it is saying is voltage. Now, hold on, the current equals the voltage times the resistance. And I'm going to break that down. Now, current just means, you got your, if we talk about electricity, we keep using that word. That means it's going through some type of circuit, a current going through the circuit. And then voltage, I always tell people this. The room you're sitting in now has at least 100 voltages of electricity. I just tell people that. But you can actually do an experiment where you can either get a long pole, or you can use a drone and and take it on up and drop the copper wire from it, hook it up to a voltmeter, and you'll start getting voltages in the atmosphere. So
Hmm.
we're not making this up. I mean, for people who really love this type of stuff, you can start doing it. And the further you go up, it goes 100 volts electricity, 200 volts, 300 volts. The voltage go up, the higher you go up. But
Hmm.
anyway, going back to that, so people can know, okay, we are working with something here. My body's in it. So the voltage is getting higher in the body when the resistance start going down. That's what Ohm's law means. And what is the resistance? What we call a spirituality. Blockages.
Hmm.
When you feel the shaking and this is loosened up, you can finally stretch, you can finally breathe. That's the indication. This is it. This is what scientists do. That's the indication that the resistance is down. And if the resistance is down, the voltage is up.
Hmm.
And that
Hmm.
means that the current is running smoothly. Now, to break it down, and this is a law just dealing with voltage and stuff, the voltage does not kill, the current kills a person.
Hmm.
Now, let me make that make sense. This is why I tell people you got to go gradually and slowly. Because even though all of us got a current going through the body, some people's current is bigger than others.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So the voltage
Hmm.
is already there, it exists. But if too much voltage go through the body, or if it can't get through the body, and your current flow is too small to handle it, you're not going to be able to be maintained. This is why you need to cultivate. I hope this makes sense. You're making it bigger so that the river can come through.
Makes all the sense in the world. And I remember that even being with you, feeling you're like, it was almost like I could feel your inner channel, your main channel was like
Yeah,
wide open stream, you know,
right.
not like a
And that's
narrow
it.
hose, but like a big stream, you know.
This is the big stream from the brain to spinal cord. And then you got all of these little aqueducts coming from it, going all over the body. That's the analogy right there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that need to be cleaned up. Now, diet changes is good, fasting is good, but the meditation must be there, because if you just fast and try to fast your way in, the body ain't strong enough yet. You know what I mean? It'll cause harm. If you just do it, they'll stick with the diet changes. I think that's going to do it, because I see people bragging about the diet all the time. That's not where it's at. But when you get in that relaxation, because this is a piece of equipment, physical matter, when it relaxes, it gives it a chance to eternally release the tension and stress inside of the body. This is how you start doing. It's another type of exercise. This is why this is called internal exercises.
Hmm. Yeah, in Chinese traditional medicalism, they say medicine is not as good as food, and food is not as good as qi. you know,
Right.
and
Here we
and
go.
this whole thing, you know, of mental and physical blockages are equally uh, draining on the system.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
anything, mentally is more than the physical.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely. I just gave somebody an example. Here in Uganda, there was this younger woman. And of course, being younger, she got a lot of energy. She's running around, she's doing cartwheels. But then all of a sudden, she ran into a situation where she lost some money. Okay. But her whole demeanor, her whole physical body did not have that energy. It just got drained off of something that happened mentally to her.
Mhm.
So I gave him that analogy, but that's the reality of it. It
Yeah.
didn't attack her physically, but her physical body felt it just by what she mentally just went through.
Well, this is where I see a few. I want to respect your time and wrap up. I have like 10 more things I want to throw in. But
All right.
this is one of the things I see that relates sort of to Buddhism, because they talk about the 8 worldly concerns, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that those throw you off in you developing your freedom, because they're more concerned with freedom than they are with happiness in
Right.
Buddhism, you know,
Right.
and that the 8 worldly concerns are like gain and loss, pleasure and pain, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, praise and blame, or like your reputation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we hang ourselves up on these external things, they drag on our system and make it more difficult for us
Oh, big
to
time.
manifest, to be, be happy, healthy, bright, to be, energetic. And
Oh,
so,
big time.
you know,
That's a big one right there. I think I told people when I got on the journey, one of the first things I did, what do I do first? I had to rearrange my time management, and get rid of things that wasn't serving me no more. And mainly it was on a physical level.
mhm,
It was on a physical level. So it won't drain me so I can focus more on myself.
mhm,
That
mhm.
was the first thing I had to do. And I see a lot of people want to come on a journey and they got too much going on,
Well,
just draining their energies. And they got to realize that. They usually do because it's too much. Your mind is flying too many places trying to maintain
yeah, and
it.
that's why I use that word renunciation at the beginning, because you kind of,
Right.
to be able to, like, it's not about like getting rid of stuff or this is bad and I don't need to do it anymore or whatever. It's more about like all this clamor is keeping me distracted, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't
Mm-hmm.
focus on my internal, growth, so
And I'm
it's a,
glad you brought up that word renunciation because this is what they're saying. I usually try to tell people true spirituality is science. You got to know the science behind it. When I mean science, it's just like, and I might as well say it, it's just like mainstream. They got it for you, but you start relating it to yourself. I hope I said that right. That's why I brought up Ohm's law. Everything I said about it agrees with meditation. So it ain't
mhm,
nobody to deceive you. You're working with it. But
mhm,
anyway, for a spiritual scientist, they are a renunciant.
mhm.
They are a renunciant. They're giving off things to free up the system so it can conduct a better, stronger current through the body. And that's why it seems like they could do more than the average person.
There's less resistance.
Less resistance.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh, Ellie,
Right.
time with you is always a blessing for my heart and my mind and my progress. And, I want to thank you. There's like 10 more things I wanted to talk to you about real quick. We got about a minute and then it might cut out because I have like limited uh, service on this
Right.
platform. But, is the dreadlocks. I cut my dreads, growing them back again. You were talking about, you know, the Ohm's law and how you can gather conductivity up in
Right.
this, from the sky. And I see your dreads, and these are like extension of the fascia from your bones. Um, uh-oh. Oh, there we are.
There we
So
are.
just real quickly, do you feel like dreadlocks help gather energy?
Oh, well, without a doubt. Without a doubt. This is awesome. I mean, this is like a great new experiment for me. So it is maintaining this energy. And let's just bring it down to earth. For number one, I ain't got to worry about getting a haircut, and I ain't got to worry about doing my hair. So that saves time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I love about it. It's easy.
It's just like when I was going without shoes for 3 years. It was like I didn't have to look for the shoes or didn't have to look for socks. So yeah, it saved more energy.
It's a life of ease. That's what this lifestyle is about. Freedom and
Right.
ease.
Mm-hmm. Freeing you up.
All right. Well, I would hate for us to get kicked off in the midst of another juicy nugget. So I guess
All
we'll
right.
wrap it up. But thank you so much, Elitom, for spending your time with us today. I love you so much, my friend and teacher. Great to see you shining in Uganda. And any last words you'd like to share?
All I could do is tell everybody they had the best day or night ever. Life is good.
Here, here. All right.
Cultivate, cultivate, cultivate. Keep going higher and higher. It's 2024 now.
Yes, yes. This is a
Mhm.
good year to grow. So bless you all. Hope you all have gained something from this and have a beautiful day.
All right, peace.